Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to make myself some absolutely positively free seed starting mix. So what you see behind me, this is a garden bed that I just recently cleared out. I pulled all the weeds out of it, tried to pull as many of the weed roots because we get the dollar weed here and man, them roots go everywhere. So I've pulled all the weeds out of it, and now I want you to know weeds are not necessarily bad. I use mine as a weed crop. We'll get to that later. At any rate, so what we're talking about now is I need to get a soil base. I need something to mix in as the base of my soil, and what better soil than the soil that I have. Now my soil here in this particular garden is a very sandy, somewhat loamy kind of soil. Hopefully you can kind of see that. All right. And it is wet. We've been having a lot of rain here, man. I'm going to tell you what, it has been raining here like nobody's business for, I don't know, the past month and a half, 2 months. Just doesn't want to stop. That's why I'm out here on a gloomy day trying to do this. And this is wet soil, but that's okay. We're going to make it work either way. So, in order to get this soil more fertile, what we're going to do is mix it with some compost, which I'll get into in a little bit. But in the meantime, this soil has been very fertile. This is my hugelkultur bed, so it's got up underneath here, it's got a lot of logs and stuff that actually increase the soil fertility, but I've grown a lot of things in it. In this bed I had corn, I had garlic, I had cucumbers, I had cantaloupes, I had cauliflower, and a few other things that I tried to grow up in here. Some did well, some did not. So part of that is the soil fertility, part of it is just the weather, and part of it is because corn hates me. But anyway, so what I'm going to do, like you can see, I've already raked up a good portion of it. I'm just taking like the top sections of the dirt, raking it up into a pile, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that pile and I'm going to run it through my sifter. Now let me show you my sifter. So this sifter is nothing more than some 1/4-inch hardware cloth stapled to the back end of some 2x4s that I had scraps from and other projects and so on and so forth. So essentially it's just hardware cloth with a frame. Anybody can build it. Doesn't cost a lot of money. Highly recommend it. It has been very, very useful for me. Now, if I was going to make a recommendation on a sifter, I highly recommend the 1/4-inch hardware cloth because it keeps the smaller, finer particles out. It makes a nice, fluffier, looser soil. The only thing I would say was I would have extended this 2x4 out this way a bit longer so I had a handle to bang on it with. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to toss it onto the sifter. Now I found that you can do about 3 shovel loads at a time without too much trouble. And we're just going to mix it around to start with. Now this is wetter soil, so it makes it a lot more difficult to do. This is so much easier with dry soil, but again, I just have not had the luxury of being able to deal with the dry soil. Now, as you mix it around, it will slowly start working its way through. Now, if you're looking for something a little more coarse, you can buy the 1/2-inch hardware cloth, but I find the 1/4-inch seems to give me a nice, finer, better soil. At least I like it more. And you kind of see what's left over there. There's a lot of the more chunkier stuff, and that's the stuff that I want to take out of the soil so that my plants do not have to grow around it. Then I'll just take the chunks, toss them over here. You can also put them in with your compost. Just depends on what you want to do. But you can see I now have nice, loose, fluffy, sandy soil because most of what I have here is sand. All right, so we're going to do let's do 2 more scoops. All right, and I'll get back to you as soon as we're done with that. All right, so now let's go get some compost. So the most important part of this evolution is putting your coffee cup somewhere where it won't get chunks in it. Because you don't want to eat your coffee, you want to be able to drink it. All right. So now, this compost pile is about 2 to 3 months old. You can see on the top layer, there's still a lot of stuff that has not quite broken down. There's some sticks and such, some leaves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top part and I'm going to rake it down so that I get down some more composted portions of my pile. Now I turn this pretty regular, so it shouldn't be too bad once I get down to, you know, first couple inches. And either way, we're going to sift it so that all the good stuff comes out, and the stuff that I want to continue to compost will basically go back into the pot. All right, there's that. Now what we're going to do is, once again, I put 5 shovelfuls of the garden soil that I have, and I want to put about the same amount of compost into my pot. Or I should say into the wheelbarrow. All right. And then the same kind of process. Just move it around. Big chunks go on the other pile. And I'll move it around until I get most of this that will go through the sifter down into my pile. All right, so let me finish doing this and I'll get right back with you. So once again, you're left with the chunky bits that won't go through. I might be able to get a little more out of that, but that's all right. That should be good enough. All right, so like I said, this part will go back in the pile and we'll get some more. All right, so now I've got equal parts garden soil and equal parts compost. Now, my garden soil should be fairly fertile because I've done a lot of composting. That is my hugelkultur bed, so should have nice fertile soil combined with some fresh compost, and that ought to make a killer growing medium. All right, so all I'm doing now is just taking my potato fork and mixing things around real good, make sure that the compost gets in with the soil. And I'm thinking that half fertile garden soil and half fresh compost ought to make a killer growing medium. There are a few chunks in there somehow. As you can see, now I have this nice, fluffy, moist, should be very fertile, sandy soil. It just comes apart. And that is how I make totally free planting soil. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plant this up, put in a bunch of pots, and I'm going to plant some seeds from my fall garden, and we'll get back to you and show you how well or how poorly it did. So thanks once again for stopping by. You can do this in your yard. Start a compost pile. You can see my 3 piles. I've got my just started pile, and this is what I was talking about with the weeds. That is my weed harvest from that garden. It's all going to sit there. I'm going to get some browns put into it. This is my next layer, or my next compost bin here, or pile, that is about halfway broken down. And then of course the part that I used today, which is primarily compost broken down nicely formed compost. It's still a little warm in there, so I still got that bacterial energy going on. But it probably could use another couple of weeks to a month to actually get it to the point where it's fully composted. All right, so anyway, thanks once again for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe, and try this in your garden. Grow some compost, take some of your dirt, mix it with your compost, and you can use that for starting soil, or starting medium as some people call it, and never have to pay a dime. All right, thanks once again, and grow something.